Their trouble is only to this flesh. This flesh, that's all. If not because of this flesh, you know, this is the only chain they have on us. Not because of this flesh, this meat, we could fly in the air. We could swim in the river, walk under the sea, and soon you'll be home. And soon you'll be home.
Lift your mate's eyelids while they're asleep. If you can do this without waking them up, they won't see you. If your eyes are meant for seeing, why is it they can't see you? Better yet, the question should be, where are they? It's hard to think about this phenomenon because our flesh keeps us earthbound, but the mind is boundless. Because our life experience is primarily based on this planet, many haven't put much stock into what goes on outside the Earth's atmosphere. But that doesn't mean nothing's going on. What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? How did all this start and what was before that? These are some of the most frequently asked yet seldom answered questions we've had probably since we were conscious of our ability to think. When you start to see your body as a universe, it shows the micro and macrocosmic connection we have with everything, for everything is a smaller part of a bigger thing. As chaotic as today's world is, it demands more of our consciousness, leaving us to believe this is all there is. But is it? See, life exists on at least 3 planes. Today's world would rather you focus on the physical, being controlled by a man-made clock, telling you when it's time to get up, when to go to work, and when to eat and sleep. But there's a whole nother concept of time few of us allow ourselves to experience. The inner mind's eye. When you allow your mind to stretch beyond the parameters of this planet, which confines only the physical, when you tap into your natural essence of knowing and not settle for the info based on what man-made institutions of higher training proclaim as necessary, you will begin to reacquaint with your true self, a realm probably only the mind has access, the unknown. Using time, you are able to see nature in its natural element. It is here where you'll see where forever begins. Seeing this requires nothing more than a desire to see with more than your eyes. See with your mind. Using the inner mind's eye, you see beyond global white supremacy, beyond the global economic collapse, beyond the fear of man-made camouflaged as natural disasters, rising food and gas prices, the flood of 2012, the alleged end of days. You see beyond all these things where you're able to see nature in its naturally raw, both creative and destructive element. Space. So close your eyes and open your third. Disconnect and leave it all behind and travel with me. It's interesting to think back when all this began, something happened that has enabled us to exist today. While in the same breath, a feeling of abandonment because we've been severed from the true story of our origin and initial evolution, leaving us to theorize, hypothesize, and argue over missing pieces of a puzzle about where we come from and how we got here. The ancient Jehudic principle correspondence states, as above so below, as below so above, also meaning if you want to understand the unknown, just study the known because everything's related. We are part of an ever-expanding universe, a universe that is but one of countless others. And if you really think about it, we're both relevant and irrelevant to the existence of this universe. See, what goes on our planet, your country, your state, your city, and your home has little effect as to what goes on in nebulas trillions of light years away, yet the existence of us has an indirect connection, for we are a microcosm of a macrocosm, a smaller part of a bigger thing. As universes comprised of star clusters, planets, and solar winds, our bodies microcosmically are made of these same elements. When you start to see your body as a universe, you will understand. We are of the universe, and as well, there are universes in us, just microcosmically. Just as we live, build, and destroy things on this earth, so do elements inside our bodies, all this leading to an eventual change and rebirth. All this centers around the thought that we are all microcosms of a macrocosm, or smaller part of a bigger thing, which is part of a bigger thing, and so on. This goes beyond the physical realm. There's so much that goes on outside us, the Earth, our solar system, our galaxy, our spot of many spots that make up the other star clusters. Yet when the question of life outside our planet comes up, many either say there isn't, or they settle for Hollywood's boxed-in depiction. As they say, knowledge is power. I dare to say independent thought or free thinking is powerfully dangerous, for it exposes just how fallible the world's intellect really is. Yes, there is something more than us, and contrary to what heads want you to think, if we are smaller parts of bigger things, we are much older than we think. Therefore, we are much more than what Whitey's history wants you to believe. We are before Jamestown, Virginia, 1619, before the Greek, Roman, and Persian invasions, and yes, even before the Nile Valley. So how do we get to this place the realm of time exists? Let's continue this journey. The mind is truly a physical phenomenon. It's just that it's hard for us to realize this because it works in large part on automatic. We're not aware of the kind of work we put our minds through each day. We never think how the mind knows how to govern so many things at once. And we forget to wonder how something can work literally all day and into the night without a break, even when we sleep. Let's face it, the mind is the perfect employee. After a long day at the job, you come home mad tired. But exactly what part of you is tired? You physically. And what do you do to recharge? You lie down, eventually falling asleep. It gets deeper when asked, when do you actually sleep? See, we do these things automatically, so we've never took the time to break down the science of sleeping. From the moment you fall asleep to when you awake, that period of time you are unable to account for. When you rise, most times you can recall having dreams, but what we don't recall is the process it takes to get from right before we sleep to the actual place where dreams happen. Seldom mentioned is a route or process of departing one dimension into another. What is the course of leaving that present physical realm and enter what has to be the non-physical realm where we sleep? Earlier, I mentioned lifting the eyelids of someone sleeping without waking them. You will recall that although their eyes are open, if they remain asleep, they will be unable to see you. Now, if they're unable to see yourself right in front of them, where are they and what are they seeing? We've been taught the basic function of your eyes is to see. It's your eyes that allow you to watch this video article. If you close and then open your eyes again, unless you turn to look at something else, you will still see this video. But why doesn't this happen when you're asleep? Why can't the person sleeping see you lifting their eyelids? You're supposed to see what's in front of you, right? We have to admit, there has to be a higher science, which means the eyes clearly must have advanced capabilities. I believe wherever your consciousness resides is where you see. Whether it's in the physical world where you use your eyes to see, or the non-physical realm where your third eye is activated for sight. Everything is myth, math, and metaphor, laced with eye symbology. All things are viewed through an eye of conscious creation. It's well known eyes are the windows to the soul experience, serving as a lens, allowing us to see and become consciously aware of our experiment in this third dimension we call life. The eye has a pupil. We serve as pupils or students in the University of Life, experiencing consciously through the lens of time. I'm sure you've heard many heads speak about seeing with your third eye, yet very few actually elaborate on what this is all about. The third eye is that inner vision that vibrates on a frequency higher than your normal eyesight. Its alleged function is to assist in seeing what your eyes can't see. It's been said the third eye has the ability to see things not only on a deeper level, but on a subliminal or esoteric plane. With all that said, only the ability is spoken of, and rarely will you find a discussion building on the phenomenon it truly is. Have you ever had a conversation that spoke of the role the mind plays in seeing? Is it solely our eyes that observe, or does the mind also have the capability to see? Take a moment and think of something that happened in the past. Did you notice while reliving this moment, you could see it although it wasn't your eyes that were seeing it? Did you also realize that while you were seeing this mental picture appear in your mind, your eyes were seeing what was in front of them in the physical world? It's like your vision was multitasking. One busy viewing your past experience in your mind, while the other continued to examine what was in front of it. Further, how do you explain the sight that's used in your dreams? It's not your eyes seeing what goes on. Your mind has the capability to project images inside your head. Again, I have to echo this. The mind is truly a physical marvel, and we don't even know the half, and according to Western medicine, barely the third. Just literally walking through phases we experience every time we go to sleep gave me a larger appreciation of how special living beings are. If you look at basically every man-made thing, it's modeled off the human body. Look at your typical MP3 player or laptop computer. It runs off an electrical outlet, but also has an internal battery. This allows you to listen or work without being plugged into a wall, but only for a limited time. Eventually the power is used up and you have to use an outlet to recharge the battery. Over time, the battery will eventually die out. The same can be applied to us. Sleep serves as that outlet in the wall. We plug ourselves into a place that recharges us physically. After a few hours, we're refreshed. But as with the MP3 battery, after so many charges, it will die out. This is where we will go through a physical transformation to the non-physical realm. I like to equate the process of sleeping to a trip, because if you really look at it, it really is. You leave one realm and enter another, and in a couple Earth hours, you return. When we eventually lie down, our body must first prepare itself, winding down to a relaxed state by slowing down. This is accomplished by a series of deep breaths. Now notice, all this is done automatically. You don't have to tell yourself to do anything. All you have to do is lie down and close your eyes. Life is preserved by breathing, so it's not a coincidence. It's this rhythmic breathing fluctuating on its native mantra-like level that escorts us from the physical realm into this dream state. As we fall asleep, the mind goes through a process of shifting its awareness from the present to the past, future, or possibly some other unknown dimension or dimensions altogether. While asleep, we venture into innumerable dimensions of existence. Here we relive past experiences with the possibility of altering what happened, as well as encounter things that may play out in the future. I perceive this dimension to be a place where we have the least control, meaning logically, this is the time the mind is possibly most free to create things the physical would have a challenge comprehending. Macrocosmically, this can be equal to the radiant shapes and colors galaxies freely form in space. This also points out a very important fact. In some instances, especially when sleeping, you are not in control. Better put, we are not in control because we haven't been trained how to control our mind when sleeping. This is exciting because it opens the door to another form of mental development. This book, written by Dr. Albert Taylor, goes into depth on the phenomena of multiple dimensions one can train themselves to not only experience, but control. Everything starts in the mind, and the mind is as infinite as the universe. In the track 2000 Seasons by Talib Kweli, he mentioned a profound first verse. He said,
"Not a human being getting no spiritual shit. A spiritual being manifested as a human, that's it."
Thoughts are spirits. Once these spirits are physically manifested, they live. Think when your mom and pops got together to make you, the genetic DNA codes of each came together in conference on the thought of making you. After they determined how many X and Y chromosomes there'd be, the incubation transition began to slowly turn this thought, which was as fragile as a teardrop, to manifest into something weighing over 100 pounds, with everything from strong, sturdy bones to velvet mahogany skin. This is a universal example, because the same can be applied to how one can create something, like my creating the Ghetto Times magazine. This thought now has life. It's been said by several scholars that we are spiritual beings having a human experience who chose to come back for a purpose. To say this is to acknowledge there is more to life than what is experienced on earth and in this lifetime. I believe there are different realms of consciousness. In particular, we live in the physical realm, where we spend what seems to be the most time in present-day life. One other is the non-physical realm, a place I feel we go to when we sleep. It's a very real place, for if it weren't, we'd be awake in this realm permanently. If life only existed where we are now, this would be the only place consciousness dwelled. Ask yourself, where do spiritual souls come from at birth and ascend to when they die? It's not a place on earth, for if it were, with all of life that experienced time here since the planet's creation, past, present, and future, Earth would have been overpopulated. So there has to be more than what little we know. I'm not saying the non-physical realm is the place we go when sleeping, but it definitely is a place we can connect ancestrally. This also supports my claim that life exists outside of our solar system, but we'll have to get into that in another piece. I'm a strong believer that mysteries are only that because they have not been investigated. After watching this video article, what maintenance can we conduct to ensure our minds stay healthy? With proper study and training, we may truly be able to know if life exists elsewhere. And as long as we embrace the notion that life exists on at least 3 planes, some of these mysteries will be revealed in time.